Good evening and happy Sabbath, Covenant Advent Church. And good evening and happy Sabbath to those of you who've joined us online. Welcome back for our evening study. Thank you for joining, and I pray you'll be blessed as we spend the remaining moments of the Sabbath together. We will start with hymn number 625. Please turn in your hymnals to hymn number 625. I'm pressing on the upward way, new heights I'm gaining every day, still praying as I onward bound. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. Lord, lift me up and I shall stand by faith on heaven's tableland, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, lead me on to higher ground. My heart has no desire to stay where doubts arise and fears dismay. Though some may dwell where these abound, my prayer, my aim is higher ground. Lord, lift me up and I shall stand by faith on heaven's tableland, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. I want to live above the world, though Satan's darts at me are hurled. For faith has called the joyful sound, the song of saints on higher ground. Lord, lift me up and I shall stand by faith on heaven's tableland, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. I want to the utmost height and catch a gleam of glory bright, but still I'll pray till heaven I've found. Lord, lead me on to higher ground. Lord, lift me up and I shall stand by faith on heaven's tableland, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. Amen. I'll now turn it over to Pastor Lloyd Grubb, who will continue with part 2 from this morning's presentation.
So we start off where I left off. So I'll start right here, right now. So welcome again, everyone, and thanks for joining back here this afternoon as we do evening, as we do our part 2 of what we started, getting into some financial discipline techniques, how to discipline yourself, and why when you spread yourself out in certain different ways that you have more discipline. So we'll pray. Our Father who art in heaven, truly you have called us to move on to higher ground, and as we study these things, pray that you may continue to bless us by thy Spirit, that our minds may expand in our thoughts and thinking. This is my prayer in Jesus' name, amen. So financial discipline techniques and best practices. What's the best practice to be able to have the best financial discipline and to have techniques to make you be more successful? So when we talk about we left off with leverage and debt to income ratio. So there's just some solid numbers that you can pull, that when you understand that there's things that you must pay for, and it doesn't matter who you are in this life, as the text stated, I'm going to read in a second, that you will have to be paying money into taxes. There's just some things that we pay money into. So whether or not you like it, there's things that you must pay, because anywhere you live, there's going to be goods and services being rendered, and for you to get the goods and services, you have to pay. So this life here is a life of consumption. We're always consuming, we're always burning, and so in that consumption, one has to think about that. So I'll read again Romans chapter 13, verse 5, to begin here again about leverage and debt to income ratio. And it says here, wherefore ye must need be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience. So for conscience sake, it's reasonable for you to pay tax, for me to pay tax. And why? Because, as I say, there's things that are going on in our society that we pay for, and it's not like we have a choice whether we pay for it or not, because they're needed to be done. Ministry needs to be done, so to speak. For this cause pay tribute also, for they are God's ministers, attending continually unto this very thing. Render therefore all their dues, tributes to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom is due, fear to whom fear is due, honor to whom honor is due. Owe no man anything but to love one another, for he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. So when we understand that there's somebody continually working to keep dangerous criminals in prison, they're doing a very good job. But we understand people working to take dangerous people off the street that are hurting innocent people, they're doing a good job, and they must be paid. And so when you think about the border, not everything can flow in and out. I've often discussed this idea, should we have tariffs? Should we have these type of tributes and stuff like that? It depends on the work and how it's structured, if it's really beneficial for the country. So the Bible says that. So when we talk about debt and income ratio, what we're talking about, that there are certain things that one must just go at life and realize that if you make $1, not all that dollar you will keep, because you're paying for goods and services. And that is financial discipline. So when you look at your paycheck, not all that paycheck reasonably is going to be just for you, because for you to make that money, there has to be some systems put in place for you to make that money. Does that make sense? So again, you're driving on the road to get to work. Somebody had to pay for that road, right? You're driving, if you didn't have that road or that bridge, then you'd have to probably go half an hour extra. That's going to be more gas, more mileage, more wear in your car. So you put that bridge in place. Now you have half an hour less driving. Now you have to pay for that bridge. You're not paying much, but you're going to pay some of your taxes. So there's a system in place that we must conscientiously understand, and this gives us discipline. Now, what is the discipline here? The discipline here is that when you look at your paycheck and you understand that a percentage of it has to go for goods and services, and that's just part of your process in this life, then you do it for conscience sake, not for fear. You just do it for conscience sake. Now, as I say, you just don't want to pay more than you should, but you do it for conscience sake because you're being delivered goods and services, and you understand that's what it is. This gives you financial discipline because it's adding value to your life. As I say, if you have criminals running wild, it will decrease the value of your life and might end up causing you to die. So removing criminals off the street is a very good process. You just want the job to be done properly, not for people to be targeting people and all that stuff that can go bad. But for the regular job, that people that work at the ports, people that work at the airport, people that work at in the building department, the sanitation department, they're doing a good job, so you want them to do a good job. Because if they don't do a good job, then like the sanitation people, if they don't do their job, there'll be disease outbreak, there'll be rats everywhere and stuff like that. So you want that. There's somebody that needs to make sure that people clean up their environment. So the next thing I want to talk about, because the two of them are connected, and I couldn't really fully separate them because they're one and the same. You must plan and have a budget. Proverbs chapter 21 verse 5 said, the thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteous, but everyone that is hasty only to want. So everything in life you have to do it with a slow intent or slow planning. You have to plan ahead. Tomorrow is not guaranteed to us, but in our planning, it's better to do long-term planning, not short-term planning. And I'll deal with this a little bit more again in detail. But in essence, what it is, notice the diligent. So the diligent is somebody that is going to put a plan and work towards a plan. Slowly, painstakingly, daily work towards a plan, weekly, monthly. The hasty, they say normally, I'm going to get the phrase wrong, but there's a phrase that is, I guess, well known in society. And they say it's almost like somebody that's hasty to make money in a day will be hung in the evening. Something like that. I don't know if I got it right. But if you're hasty to make money in one day, by the evening you'll be hanged, right? And I don't know if that used to happen in the past, where they grab the thief and they bring him on the town center and then throw a rope around his neck, or throw it around a tree and throw it around the neck and hang him in the evening, right? And because that's what happens when you're hasty to make money, right? You're going to do some things that you shouldn't do to make money. You're going to make the money fast, but also you're going to get hanged fast. So the thoughts of the diligence, the way you want to approach life is you want to do life with planning and a budget. And I was going to provide it, but I decided I'm not sure, because I don't know how many people use Excel. But for my budgeting, my check ledger is on Excel, and then my budgeting is on Excel. So if you just go online and just type in, and probably I'll provide a link in the comment section later, but if you just type in Excel budget, you get a budget that is a 1-year budget that as you put in, and you put in the expense, projected expense, and then you put the actual expense, then it calculates for you as you're going along. And I just use an Excel budget spreadsheet to do my budget. So I do budget and checking account from my Excel, and that works great for me. There's more sophisticated software that can be tied to your banking account and stuff like that, but I just use it on Excel because I can calculate and see the dates of the bills and how much money I have coming in, how much money going out for my household. So this is what you want to do. You want to plan. I'm going to break down something for you in a second. Luke chapter 14, verse 28 through 32. Luke 14, verse 28 through 32 says, "For which of you intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first and counted the cost, whether he had sufficient to finish it?" Right? So here Christ is telling you a story about planning and budgeting. So which of you planning to build a tower, sit it down first and count the cost? Why would you need to count the cost? Whether he have sufficient to finish it. Now, have you ever seen somebody building something they can't finish it? And then you realize what happened. They didn't have the money to finish it. Notice here, less happily after he had laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, and all behold him began to mock him. Does this happen in real life? If you start building and you can't finish, does people mock you? Eh? Does people mock you for it? Does these things happen? So this is planning and budgeting here. Because what the Lord is saying is that says, if you are going to do something, you have to plan it out. So my thing is, this is part of your financial discipline, because you can't do life haphazardly or hastily. You have to budget out things. And you have to say, okay, what am I doing and how am I going to get to it? Now notice again, saying this man began to build and was not able to finish. Or what king going to make war against another king sitteth not down first and consulted whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000? Notice what happened now. Or else, while the other is yet a great way off, he send an embassage and desire condition of peace. So when we talk about leveraging and debt to income ratio, we apply the same principle that Christ is saying here. Because if the person was going to build a tower, and say the tower, as an example, was going to be 1,000 square feet, and he had only money to build a tower at the base, that would have been 500 square feet. If he had done a budgeting and planning, then he would have known that the tower he's going to build can only afford a 500 square feet home or a tower. And if that's the case, then he built 500 square feet. Or he says, you know, I'm probably have to go borrow enough money to pay for the other 500 square feet. And then he built a bigger tower. But this is what planning and budgeting, because you can plan it out diligently, work it out, and you can get a good estimate. And I remember in construction, they say you always needed about, I can't remember if it was 10% overages. So you plan it out based upon all the set of parameters that you can know. And then you put in contingency, 10, 20,000. So you build 100,000 building, you put in 10,000 for losses, for unforeseen condition, weather-related problems. Could be even 20, depends on where you're building. Why? Because you're planning and budgeting. So plan and budgeting is always important. You should every month know how much money you come in, how much money you spend. You should track it. So for me, I can track how much I spend on food from month to month to month. Some months is surge, because sometimes I'll buy things bulk and then I'll just store it. So I have to always go to the supermarket because I find it's a waste of my time. So perishable things I try to buy in bulk, and then other things that are perishable, non-perishable I buy in bulk, and then the perishable I buy as often as I need it. So again, for which of you intending to build a tower, sit it now down first and count the cost, whether you have sufficient to finish it, right? So that's what you do your budgeting. Psalms 37 verse 21 says, the wicked borrow it and pay it not again, but the righteous show it mercy and give it. So notice here, two separate things here. The wicked borrow it and pay it not again. Who don't pay again? The wicked. But the righteous show mercy and give it. So you're going from a point of view that financial discipline is that not only you pay your taxes, we covered earlier, but also you're giving away money. That means if you make $100, how much money you plan to give away? That can be budgeted. Why? Because you are doing life where you have so much meat on the bone, so to speak, that you have enough to give away. But if you go into a life and that says you're going to burn every single thing you have and not even any was put aside for, say, the poor, to invest, then that's not financial discipline. So that's why I said earlier, I talked about other things before, but a big part of financial discipline is just simply a budget. So you have to budget. So across America, is higher in New Jersey, but across America, so the real median income, according to the Census Bureau for 2022, was $74,000. All right? So the Census Bureau now said the average household income, because I think the average income in America is $30-something thousand average. That means there's people who make way above the average, and then there's people who make way less than the average. Like they say, if 4 people walk into a bar, how many people walk into the bar? 4 people. And one of the person was, say, Jeff Bezos. And the other 3 was the average income earner of $35,000. The 4 of them together, what would be the average income? When you calculate the 4 income, you tie the 4 incomes together and divide by 4. The 4 people average income would be what? Millions, right? There's a lot of millions. But you normally say, if they say, so the average household income in America is $74,000. Some numbers give it a little bit higher, give it lower, but we just go with the Census Bureau since that's what the government tells us. So we think they probably have the right number. They must know based upon taxes and all that. And you say 74,000 is the average income, household income. What does that tell you when you have that money number is being divided by people who are billionaires and multimillionaires? That means that the average household income would be less, right? The average regular person, that is. Does that make sense? So a budget now would be simply this. This is financial discipline. Normally in mortgage, they had taught me that you don't want to go above 29%. I just run it off there to 30%. That means if a person makes $74,000, the average family makes $74,000, you don't want to be paying more than $1,800, $864 for mortgage. Do you see that on the board here? And then other household debts, you don't want to be paying more than $745. So that's probably 2 credit cards. All right, $745 would be 2 credit cards at about $6,000, $5,000. All right, 2 of them. Then utilities and food is $1,367 a month, 22%. That's my calculation here. All right. Oh, so these calculations are from various different sources. So I just hodgepodge and put some numbers together for you just to see what this is talking about. Then investments. You're supposed to be investing about $800 and something a month, right, for the average income of that. This is financial discipline. So this is what we talk about, a plan. A diligent person have a plan, have an end game. And then tithe and offering and charity, 13%. I don't know what you give, but I just put a number there. This is a number. And then leisure, 10%. All right? So does these numbers look good to you? Don't answer me. Just look at the numbers. I have them on the board here. Look at the numbers and then tell me, does this look good to you? Does this sound familiar to you, or does this look strange? Right? Now, I looked at one of the sites I went to, and I would look at a bank. One of the banks were saying that for the leisure, the bottom right there, that they put 30% of the income. So look at that number and tell me, does that number look good to you? So 30%. So notice housing. What is housing? 30%. So they're saying somebody is making $70,000 could be paying 30% of their income for not leisure, they say entertainment. I use the word leisure because I guess I'm protesting against using the word entertainment, so I use the word leisure. So 30%, does that sound high for entertainment? Right? You want to hope people, that's not to pay drug dealers and stuff like that. What is it people paying 30% of their income on to entertain themselves in a place where people are very depressed? So housing, I would say 30%. So if you put in 30% of your income to housing and 30% to entertainment, what do you eat? Do you eat? It's all I eat. Do you pay tithe and offering? What if a person just got baptized and then they swear in front of the church that they'll return a faithful tithe, and they were already in the 30% entertainment region? Do they have a problem? All right. Now notice here, utilities and food. Utilities and food, I put at 22%. Does this look familiar to you? Those of you watching online, does 22% of your income goes to utilities and food? Your cell phone, so what's your utilities? Your cell phone, your electric payment, your gas payment if you have gas, I don't know what you use for heating or cooling. Your phone, probably home phone if you do have a home phone. Do people still have home phones? What is this utility that people pay? Heating, cooling, electricity, gas for the car, I throw that in there, transportation. Notice I didn't have even car payment here, so forth. So I throw that, 22%, does that cover? You can pay car, pay gas, car payment, you can pay utilities, insurance, car insurance. We don't count house insurance because housing and taxes go into the 30%. Do you think car payment and utilities and food can come into that section at the 1,365? Is that even possible? My numbers are off, right? My numbers are off, right? Tell me if my numbers are off. You see what the problem is? $74,000 start looking like people get rid of the tithe and offering and charity.
I mean, if you live in an apartment, it's easier.
If you're making $74,000 and live in an apartment.
And you do remote working, you're working remote.
But right now, $1,800 could be a one-bedroom apartment, you know?
In the Bronx.
In the Bronx. So a family making $74,000 probably could only afford an apartment for that money, for housing. So this is not a lot of money, you're saying? It's not a lot of money? This is good money, though.
It's good money, but now with inflation, cost of living.
So here we go. Let me ask you this. Thanks, Daniel. Oh, either one. Thanks. So let me ask you, investment, is that too much? 13%? The average person is not putting 13% of their income in investments. So that's probably where the car payment comes in. All right?
Housing, food, and transportation.
So if you're doing 30% on entertainment, and you can Google it, you see what I'm talking about, financial budget or financial discipline, you see, boom, come up some strange numbers, percentage. And you say, if that's what people are following, are they in trouble or not? Can they even pay tithe and offering? Because next time I'm going to talk about tithe and offering, because so I'm not really talking about it here. But you can see now that 13% probably for tithe and offering and charity will not work. Because a person will say, I can't pay that. How am I going to pay that? I can't even pay for my entertainment. And you put 10% for leisure. I blow that out in a month. All right? But this looks high to me. 7,000, even at this thing, $7,400 for leisure. You think that's reasonable? I'm going to move on, but I'm just getting you here. Because you watching me, you must look at this number here, and that's me trying to figure it out. And I'm trying to figure out how would I juggle this budget if we're doing a budget, idealistic. Let's go. Where do I put this money? You're going to have to look at that now and say, here you do transportation, you do other debts. I don't know what it is. It could be student loan. It could be whatever. You could break this down. I think probably 2 more layers, and you start to fill that number in. You can see why people can be in trouble. But when you're doing financial discipline, what you're looking at, I didn't put it in here, because leisure could be gym membership. It could be, all that type of stuff. Utilities and food, that could be supplementation. There's just different things you can put your money in. But what a budget does for you, it gives you a concept of where your money is going and really how you use your money now. So you start tracking every month what you spend on these areas. And for me, I have supplements on my line. I have, transportation, blah, blah. So I break it down like this for myself personally. And I just take the percentage and I work the percentage. And then as I break it down, what you do, you get a monthly, as you get the actual, how much money you're actually spending, and you track it over 12 months, what that does for you, get the idea of what you think you're spending and how you're really spending. Does that make sense? Because there's 2 different things. What I think I'm spending and what I am actually spending are 2 different things. So it's good to track it granularly. That means every buy I buy, if I spend cash, I write down how much I spend cash on what services. So I know at the end of the year how much I spend for gas, how much I spend for tolls, because we use EasyPass. How much I break it down piece by piece. What do I spend for the why? What do I spend, so forth and so on. So by the time you finish the year, you don't have a concept. You have a real idea of what your conceptual budget is and what your real budget is. Those are 2 different things. And so what you're concepting for your budget might not be the same as your reality. And so diligence is you're trying to work it in. So one way to do is you could increase the number. So the number now is 74,000. You could increase that number by making more money, or you could become more efficient and say, I'm going to cut costs certain places, or I'm going to pay off certain credit cards, because if you pay off your credit cards and say you eliminate that $745, that $745 you have now, that could go probably back into utilities, go into repairing your house, go into more leisure, if that's where you think you need to put your money, or to put into investments. You see, you're basically going from concept, what I'm projecting, what I'm thinking I want to do, to what I actually do, to start to use the actual and the concept and try to merge them so that your planning you can diligently work at a plan. Basically, that's what it is. So you can do differently, because then you start to realize, you're probably not doing the things that you're supposed to do. So I'm just putting that up there for you, and obviously you've seen that. Yes, please.
I think it's always good for, if you're young, to get into the habit of saving 3 months of what it costs for you to live.
So have 3 months of saving in the bank.
To have 3 months of, let's say, for example, mortgage or rent, or to pay your utilities, to pay whatever you need to save that money, put it on the side in case something happens.
All right, so let me ask you this. Normally, let's say a certain percent of Americans, about 55, don't have a $1,000 emergency fund, right? So they just use $1,000. I don't know why they choose 1,000. So you're saying to have 3 months, that means you're having, I would say minimum $22,000 in the bank saved. The whole budget you're talking about, the whole income. So you're only living on 9 months income.
No, how much you save, like what it costs for you to live.
For 3 months. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So you're saying,
It's really mortgage or rent.
oh, you're saying just the mortgage and rent, not the full income.
Just to keep where you live, keep your car,
Okay.
keep the things that, just in case something happens. You know, you get laid off, you get sick, or some likely event happens.
Okay.
You never know what may happen, and sometimes people lose their house because they don't have 3 months of mortgage or whatever savings. So it's always good to, at the beginning of the career, just to get used to saving for contingency. I know companies do this. They have contingency money. In case something happens, they have emergency money
Okay.
that they can tap into. Sometimes people lose their mortgage or their, not their mortgage, but their home or their apartment because they don't have 3 months in which they can pay in case something happens to their income.
Okay.
They would lose their job.
Yeah, but if you're making 70-something thousand, it would take you, say you did that 9,000, it would take you probably about, say, 3 years to save that. Right. If you were doing 13%.
Right. I would say it's very difficult to do that within a year.
No, you could, not unless you're living at home with your parents.
Right.
But because if you're making 35,000, you're gonna save 3 months of that 35,000.
If
Right.
you're living, I mean, the best scenario, if you will be like if you're living at home. Before you leave that safety net, you prepare and you save ahead of time. So that way, when you do finally are able to go on your own, you will have a good down payment, you will have 3 months savings, you would have maybe a car paid off. Like if you're home with your parents, you know you're not going to be there forever. It's the best is to basically do the budget there and save as much as you can. So that way when you finally do leave, you'll be able to have a good amount of savings and a head start, if you will. Because it's difficult if you're going to school, for example, or if you went to trade school or you're paying for training, then to go out and to pay for that, and then on top of that, everything else is very difficult.
Right. So that's where, like, that to me is where financial discipline becomes important. Because when you take, like what say, for instance, I look around and I say, if this is what people are making and this is what they're spending on, there's no money there, right? This is why people are in trouble. Because that's why I believe in a budget, because we start to visualize on paper what your actual income and what you're literally spending, because you're running it every month, you're seeing what you're spending. Then you see why now people without thinking get in trouble. So I add two things there. So I just add transportation, and if I just take them, say, I'm not going to put it in utilities, and I had taxes. So if your effective tax rate is 15%, so every month you pay for Social Security, Medicaid, state taxes, federal tax, and when you do your calculation at April, you come up with 15%. So 50% off the top. is coming out for the government, right? And then you have to have a car, so your car is $500 a month. And it's you're making one car payment. You have one car you pay off, one car you're making a car payment. It's $500 a month, and you're paying $6,000 a year. And you're back probably about 8% if my calculations serve me right. By the time you finish, you have to put money on the credit card. You do 2 or 3 vacations, and probably you do some whatever else. You go camping, you go whatever, you spend $7,000 something. You give 10% to tithe, you pay some offering, you give some charity every now and then, GoFundMe, send you something, and you break your heart, and you decide to bless the poor, or bless those who are suffering. You invest 13%, you'd have to drop that. That's why some people can't invest. Then your utilities and food, that 22% is actually a solid number, because if you think about the average, what people spend for food, I don't know about you, what you spend for food, but that number is kind of very solid, because there's electricity costs a certain amount, gas for heating costs a certain amount. For me, I do pellets. The numbers are whatever. Then you have some credit card, then you have housing debt. When you start to see this number, 72,000, the only way for you to be able to deal with this is to figure out how to get rid of like the credit card, probably cut your investments, cut your leisure time, and then increase your income. That would be the only way. If you have this budget and this is what your monthly payment was, you'll be in trouble.
Unless 2 people working.
Well, that's 2 people working in America. That's the average 2 incomes. That's 2 people working. Very different. And as I say, and I run this stuff on a budget every month. And you look at these numbers and you can see why people keep getting into more debts. Because the money has to come from somewhere. Right. And there's people who you add to this leisure 10% not enough, because they gamble, they smoke stuff, they always go into the weed people to buy stuff. They do a lot of entertainment, they go on very expensive vacation, they do that, and no. The money's not there. And this is what's happening. But it looks like it's a lot of money, because it's a lot of money. $70,000 is a lot of money for a family. It's a lot of money. But this money's not there. And tomorrow was telling me that the Vice President, Kamala Harris, was saying that she wanted to give more tax relief to people who are middle class. And the number she gave was 400,000 and lower. And you're thinking, when did 400,000 becomes middle class, right? That sounds like rich. So any questions online? Because you can see more or less here, as I say, if you have a car payment, all that number gets thrown out. Because the average car in America now is $40-something. If you do a 7-year payment, I think $40-something is somewhere probably close to 800. I didn't do the calculation, but it's a lot of money, $40-something. If you do, if you're paying taxes, the effective tax rate is probably going to be 10 to 15%, and so forth. It depends on how town you live in, and this could be a house, this could be an apartment, this could be a rented house. So you can see after a while the money's not there. The money's not there. This can be a tight budget, especially this is me doing the math based upon me kind of look at what out there and then think about 2 people. You think if you have a family of 3, if you have a family of 4, then all things change, because now you have health insurance, you have food, and if you hit people, if you deal with a family with people in the teens, now they're eating for probably 2 people, 1.5 people, 3 people. Depends on what it is. Now your food budget becomes out of whack. And you can see why people are in trouble, and it seems like they shouldn't be. So that's why I think that says one of your financial discipline is you need to see your money and see how your money is really spent, how you think your money is spending, and how you really spend your money by the end of the year. And look at it, and then you tell me. And then you're going to have to see that you're going to either have to start making more money or start making some cuts some places, or something going to suffer, you know? That's what it is. So that's why I think some people are like, nah. I actually saw a forum where people were asking a question, like say, Adventists, they were saying, what is it, like something like Adventists pay 10% of their income to tithe? Because most people in the country can't imagine 10%, that's $7,000 something. On the gross, not on the net. And I've heard people argue, say they're going to pay on the net, but you don't pay the government off your net. You pay the government off the gross. Tax to who tax is due, and tribute to who tribute is due, honor to who honor is due. And if you think about that, and some people I know, they want to pay on their net, and then the next thing they want to do, they don't want to pay no offering. They don't give nothing to charity, nothing to offering. The church must run and be warm and be fed and be filled. Oh my word. So this is what's going on. So we move on, short-term and long-term goals. So one has to have goals. So to me, part of having a goal is one has to have budgeting. You got to know where your money's coming in. You got to know what's realistic. Because as I say, I track every month down to the cents what I spend on food, what I spend on gas, what I spend on everything. I track everything down. I don't show up my receipts until after I know the month is passed, and I make sure that I have it, everything is covered. Why? Because I want to know not what I imagine, but what I really spending. And so if a month goes and I spend some $400 more on a certain item or $500 more on a certain item, I know, because I must know the next month, well, that money's gone. What do I do next? And if you don't track it like that, you're just not going to really understand. So in order for you to do short-term and long-term goals, the first thing you have to do is the budget. Proverbs 24 verse 3 says, through wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established. Is this true? Do you just build a house, or do you have to have a plan for the house? When you have a house, you have to have a plan. You have to know, okay, can the house, that size house be put on this property? You got to know, do you have the money for it? Do you have the builders for it? Do you have the, it's a lot of planning going towards building a house. And that's just a fact. And notice here, and by knowledge shall the chambers be filled with all precious and pleasant riches. Is that true? The chambers of the house. What is the chambers of the house? The different rooms in the house. How do you fill up the rooms in your house? It's not going to come by free will. Because I'm going to tell you something. Everything you want to put into the chamber of your house, like a dining room table, it's going to come with a cost. You want to put appliances in the house. Where the appliances come from, it's going to come with a cost. You want to put island. You just see those nice islands, right? And dishwasher. And what else you want to put in there? Everything. What else you want in there? What else you want in there? Washer and dry. Why the washer and dryer? Yeah, okay, we're going to be baptized them by the boatload. We need to wash the robes. So everything you want to put in the house is going to come.
I think from experience, if you're building, be careful who you hire. If you want the best foundation, and hire a company that just do foundations.
Yeah, that's what they focus on.
That's their focus. If you want to, like, let's say, get the best frame for the house, then you have to hire somebody that just do that and specialize in that too. They can give you options and idea on how to improve on your ideas. Because the truth is that, yeah, you're going to pay more front, but at the end, you save money.
Yes, right.
Because if they don't do it right,
you get what you pay for, right?
You might have to go back and fix whatever they ruined. But if you're going to get some plumbing done, get a licensed plumber. Electrician, get a licensed electrician.
Yeah.
And just don't let one guy do everything.
Yeah, because I learned it the hard way. When we were doing this house, I got messed up by probably one or two people. I had to pay somebody else to come in and fix what they did, right? So you can, it's not everybody say, I remember somebody said that, said they thought that as long as a person is a doctor, they're good. And then so I realized, I said, no, not every carpenter or every plumber is the same. If that was the case, then everybody would have a 5-star rating, but that's not reality. Verse 27 of Proverbs 24 says, prepare thy work without, and make it fit for thyself in the field, and afterwards build thine house. When do you build your house? When you build your house. Online, when do you build your house? Do you build your house before you have a career, or before you have a trade, or after you have a trade? It's after, right? You want to build after. So notice here, prepare thy work without, and make fit for thyself in the field. And afterward, what? You build thine house. Why? Why will you build your house after? Because it's logical, right? Because when you build your house, I've ever been to somebody's house and all the rooms in it seem empty. Why is it empty? Because they couldn't fill the chambers with good stuff. Because why? They run out of money after they build the house. Because what's the problem is making the money. Remember I told you earlier that you could have a person win a lottery, and if they don't understand that that money is supposed to be used to build a business so they can make money off of that money, they could buy a house, but they don't know how to maintain it, they don't know how to furnish it. They could have a car, but when the car get older and get broke down, they can't replace it because they have not figured out how to make money. So that's why the question that Sister Tamara asked online, if somebody gave you $1 million or say they're going to show you how to make $1 million in 4 years, which is better. Now, emotions probably will get the head of most people and they'll take the $1 million. Now, they want it now. But if you can, in 4 years, finish your course, get your job, and start making $1 million, isn't it better to wait 4 years? Because if you make $1 million, if you get $1 million this year, that's it. If you make $1 million this year, that means you can make $1 million next year, and the other year, and the other year. That's diligence. So when we talk about discipline, the discipline is to patiently develop the skills first before you do. So for me, you know, probably because of my past, I'm not what you would call it. I'm not averse to the debt. Debt is not the problem. I'm more averse to the fact that if I can't pay the debt. So you can go out there now and you could take on any type of debt. The question is, can you pay it? If you have the wherewithal to make the money to pay the debt. But this time you can take on debt, talking about debt leverage, and you're leveraged so much that you can never pay it. I remember doing mortgages, they would say that you could have a doctor, and I probably said it here before, you could have a doctor that just finished their residency and they're over leveraging the house. So the house probably is 50% of their income. And banks will do that loan all day. So I said, why? They're over leveraged. He said, yeah, because their income potential will grow. As long as they can make the payment, it doesn't matter. Because as they get out of residency and they start working, their ability to make more money is more exponential than the average person. But the average person working a certain job and they make, say, even enough money to pay for 30% of the mortgage. The income covers 30% of the mortgage. 5 years from now, the income probably only covered 31%, 32% of the mortgage. That doctor, the income could end up being, that same mortgage could be end up being 20% of their income. Same mortgage. Because what happened, their income potential is greater than the average person, especially if they do well for themselves and in certain fields, right? Same thing would be for a lawyer and stuff like that. It's just a possibility. So debt is sometimes not the problem. It's the problem is, can the person's income surge above the debt, that the debt become minor in comparison to the income. So that's where leveraging come on. That's where the thing is, is the capacity there. You would ask yourself the question, why would anybody lend to certain people or a certain country? Because they have shown that they have the ability to make big money. Because, you know, if you have a boom and bust economy, you could have a boom and you could take care of some of those debts. But another country who do have no history of doing that, your betting is a bet, is a gamble, because they have no consistency. So normally when we talk about short-term and long-term planning, what we're doing, we're projecting ahead, because that doesn't mean you can't leverage. Because think about it, why would anybody start a business? Any business you start, it's either you're going to be your money on the line or somebody's money on the line. They're putting their money on the line for your business because they think that this business have growth. And you could say, well, the business is over leveraged. Yeah, right now, but the business is growing at such a rapid pace that says it will overcome that leveraging. And you can see that in so many businesses where you look at the valuation, you say, why would they value the company so high? Because they're not valued based upon today's market cap and today's income. They're saying the income potential for the business in the future is so great that they'll put money into it that it is obviously they're not going to be able to make it back if the business stay at the same place. So you have to look at yourself in the same way. If you have income potential, that's not a problem. The problem is if you don't have no income potential. If you're doing a job where you're making $74,000 and probably
hopefully 10 years from now you're making probably 80,000. Well, you can't leverage yourself too much because your income potential growth is not that high. And you can't look at another person doing it and think you can do that because the income potential growth is not high. Same thing with certain industries. When people work in certain industries, the pathway forward can be very exponential. Some industries, you're just not going to make much more money because it's just what it is. Your job does not allow you to make that much money. And you're really in a situation where you cannot pay, plan your own destiny because you're dependent upon somebody to say, give you a raise. It just doesn't work. So when you're planning, you're thinking in this type of diligent way, and you want to be able to have that discipline to understand what you're doing. Like what you're doing, yeah, you might not see a raise in 10 years. That's just what it is. You're not going to get a raise for inflation. It is what it is. So I'll read again for you from verse 3. Through wisdom an house is built, and by understanding it is established. And by knowledge shall the chambers be filled with all precious and pleasant riches. Verse 27, prepare thy work without, and make it fit for thyself in the field, and afterward build thine house. So you put the cart behind the horse. You don't put the cart before the horse. So you prepare the work first, and then now whatever you do, the results will be more obvious. Not think about long-term and short-term planning is our goals. Your setting goals is in Proverbs 11 verse 14. So it's not that you cannot imagine yourself buying that Mac mansion or buying a bread and butter house. A bread and butter house in America would be 3-bedroom and 2-bathroom, a decent sized kitchen, a decent sized closet and bathroom. But now the bread and butter house in certain places in America is $400,000. So that is out of reach of most people, because if you look at the math, normally when I was in mortgage, I would do a simple calculation. I'd say for every $100,000, you're paying about $600. That was interest rate of 5%, 5.5%. I don't know. I don't have it in my head now what the calculation is, but I used to be able to not think about it. I just think $600 a month. For every 100,000, so 400,000 be $2,400. That blow out our budget for a family of 74,000. They couldn't afford that house, and that's not including taxes. That's just for the raw mortgage, and the interest rate now is higher. So if you even did $700, $750, $800 a month for the current interest rate at 100,000, you had 3,200. That's in a $2,000 family could not afford a house. So that's how you want to look at it. So you want to say, I can't afford that house. So then somebody say, Lord, so if I can't afford that house and I'm making $74,000, what do I do? Well, I said, that's when you start looking at foreclosures, fixer-uppers. So then say, okay, if I do a fixer-upper, how am I going to do it? Well, you're going to have to learn some skills. You're going to have to learn to do some carpentry and some sheetrock. So you probably go to the community college, get some carpentry work done, go probably work part-time with somebody doing sheetrock and carpentry. So you can fix your own house, else you're not going to be able to afford it. That's how you look at it. That's why these talents are very important, because you can do it a different way if you have some skills and some energy. And so then now that's going to crimp into your entertainment time, and you probably have to cut for a few years your entertainment budget. And that's how you do it. It's doable, but you have to do it. So I'll go back to that just to show you an example. So if I was going here and imagine I own my own cars, and I pay 10% because I have one child, and so I get some tax tax credit, and I probably take 10% effective in whatever. I could just cut my leisure, 10% gone. And I could just, my investment going to be my house, because I can't afford to invest because I'm broke and I can't do debt. I'm going to have to do more cash. And all of a sudden your budget is in line. You're going to have a tight start. This is what I said, and I said it earlier. For me, what I look at it is that says I prefer my house to be at least a 3-star level or higher, because that means I don't have to go to a resort because I live at a place that feels like a resort. So that's how I look at it. So like what the statement Ellen G. White made that Sister Martha read earlier, what that statement says is better to have your housing at least be better than to crimp your style with housing and then you feel like you need a vacation from your house. So I look at it differently. I look like it's better to go ahead and go buy a 300 count, thread count sheet that's coming, the cotton is coming from Egypt, than to go sleep in a 300 thread count sheet in a resort. You're saving money. If that's what you have to do to get to a point where you can be an owner instead of a renter, you just do what you have to do. You can make cuts, but that's where budgeting comes in. You can plan and then work diligently at your plan. So in Proverbs chapter 11, verse 14 say, okay, go ahead, please.
I know this carpenter about 8 years ago. He said that it took him 5 years to build his own house. And so Some people, that's too much.
Yeah.
But I know this other plumber, he told me that he was going to build a house in land that was cheaper. So he had to go upstate. So he gave the contractor $50,000 and he ran off with the money. So we have to be careful in the choices that we make, because there's a lot of wolves out there, knowing that you have money to build something or you have that desire. And you just have to be so careful, not only being skillful or learning these skills, but also being careful who you do business with.
Yeah, so there's principles for that. So good you say that. So normally when you're doing mortgages, when the banks are involved, the banks will give a deposit and then disbursement per percentage. So the only thing the person could go off with is the deposit. So if say the person is going to bill for, say, 100,000, you'd give them, probably the most they could get off with is probably 25, 10, 20% the most. Because you wouldn't disperse all that money to them. You give them that deposit, and then it will be all on paper, so they can go to prison if they take the money, or they have to disappear out of the country altogether and go to a country that is non-extradition. And then now after that, the inspector goes and takes some pictures, send it back to the bank, and say this percentage is done. They disperse. You'll never be able to. You wouldn't do that. These type of things a lot of time happen when there's no proper process in place, right? Because they would have to sign off on that, and it would be a theft, and they will go to prison, because it would be you steal 50,000, but you never disperse that amount of money to somebody. You know, they're going to do this, and when this is certified, it's done, then you get this amount of money. When this is delivered, they're in almost arrears. So they're required now to do the work, because if they don't do it in arrears, they don't get paid. And they have to pay their contractors. That's why some of these things, they have to sometimes float the money. But the money is guaranteed because the money is certified. So this is where sometimes you bring a lawyer in and say, I'll give the money to the lawyer. The money is certified that the lawyer has the money, and you pay the lawyer disperses the money, and then it becomes a third party. That means they don't, okay, the lawyer has the money, so my money is secure, so the owner can't steal me because the money is tied up with a lawyer. And then they show, okay, when I do this amount of money, I get dispersed. I do this amount of money, this amount of work, I get dispersed. And that's how you do it. You know what they say, you do these things because you just keep everybody honest. An honest contractor will work with that process because they understand that's the process. So it's unnecessary. You will never just turn over that type of money to a person. Yeah, and another time they get burned. Yeah. So Proverbs chapter 11 verse 14 said, where no counsel is, so I just fulfilled the text. Where no counsel is, the people fall. But in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. Some people like to go off on the side and do things on the side. I believe that things should be done up front, right? Because when you do things up front, then, you know, they keep everybody honest. Honest people will always do things up front. Like, there's nothing here I preach at. Whatever you hear me talk here, I talk in public, I talk live, I talk it privately. You know, so the counsel is always the right way to do it. So where no counsel is, people perish. So when you're doing long-term and short-term planning, what you do, you counsel with others. And you find out how did they do it, and then you follow. Show me a hard-headed person, show me a person getting beaten all the time. And, you know, there are people who don't take counsel, pure whips for them, because they don't understand. You know, people have come through this thing before, and they've figured out how to do it, and you just take counsel. So people lose a lot because their planning always get messed up because they don't understand that you just follow everybody else where they do it a certain way, and you get good results. Haggai chapter 1 verse 5 and 6. So we do not put our money into bags with holes. You're familiar with this text, but I'll read it here for you again. It says Haggai chapter 1 verse 5 through 6. So do not put your money into bags with holes. So what you just described there is putting your money into bags with holes. And that's basically what it is. Even when I was building this home, I probably the most I lost was probably a few $100s, because I didn't disperse, you know, just like, because of whatever you do, and you can't just disperse to people. You say, okay, I'll give you this amount of money. Person start working, you know, like the work, you say, listen, don't come back. Whatever money you gave them, that's gone, and then you have to go fix the work. But you're not out thousands. You're talking about hundreds of dollars. And for me, you don't need to lose more than $100. You will see when people are honest or dishonest. So we don't put our money into bags that have holes. Now, therefore, thus says the Lord of hosts, consider your ways. You have sown much and bring in little. This is where counsel is good. You eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. You clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes. So there's things that you can do in this life that will put your money into bags with holes. So we have to understand that there's things that will burn us all the time. And we don't put our money into things that burn us all the time. I don't waste my time on certain things. I'm not trying to soup up no car, just buy a car that's pre-souped up from the factory, because everything works together. All right? Proverbs 11, verse 18 and 19. Proverbs 11, verse 18 and 19. When you get old, you learn the hard way. You learn the hard way, you get beaten a few times. You don't work together. Proverbs 11, verse 18 and 19. Notice it says, the wicked worketh a deceitful work, but to him that soweth righteousness shall be reward, but shall be a sure reward. So when you sow the right way, you get a sure reward, because there's certain things that just work and work and work a proper way. But when you're planning off goals and you said not to do things, you understand the wicked worketh a deceitful work. And but if you want a sure reward, you want to do it the right way. So you want to follow right principles, because then you get right results. So that's why we're not into get rich quick schemes. Because they say, he who try to make money in a day will be hanging in the evening. You don't want to get hanging in the evening, so you want to do it the right way. As righteousness tended to life, so he that pursueth evil pursueth it to his own his own debt. So when you pursue evil, you can see it just don't work. How many times you hear people come up with somebody more harebrained scheme? You know, I remember when they approved marijuana, I said, how could they do this? All you have to do is go to Jamaica and do a survey of what marijuana is doing to the economy and the gross domestic product. And then they will know that marijuana don't work. But the people want fun, party. So for everybody that's doing fun, party, high, that's an opportunity for you to make some money, because they're not going to function in their job. So somebody's going to have to function, and somebody's going to get a promotion. Go get that promotion. Go make that money. Somebody's going to rip people off, but somebody's looking for an honest contractor that's going to get the job done. So you can you can earn a little bit more money. You can get consistent money. As I say, if you are an honest person, you do honest business, you're not going to be starving. You're going to be all right. So you do life that way, and you're going to do well for yourself financially. Proverbs 21 verse 17 says, he that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man. He that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich. I'll read it again for you again. Proverbs 21 verse 17. What does Proverbs 21 verse 17 tell us, church? He that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man. Have you seen this in your life? Have you seen the people that love fun, party? He that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich. Have you seen this? Seen this? Right? The people like to run on the crazy life. Oh, so let me give you the story here. Luke chapter 15, verse 11. Here is the most famous story of somebody that liked the fun lifestyle. And what was the end result of this fun, party? All right? So the Bible tells us in the Old Testament, and then Jesus gives us an example of somebody that liked the party, fun. So financial discipline this is why, before I read Luke, when I see that somebody would put, even have the temerity to put that said you could even spend 30% of your income on fun, party. You can see why some people are broke and always going to be broke. They put fun. How much money you can spend on fun, party? How much party can you really go? A lot. I used to. You can go to a lot of parties and you're going to ever be broke. Luke chapter 15 verse 11 say, and he said, a certain man, which is Jesus talking, had 2 sons. How many sons? 2. And one loved fun, and party. The younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me, and divide unto them. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country. It sounded like he was high. A far country, but it's a literal far country. And there wasted his substance on fun, party. And wasted his substance on riotous living. What type of living? Riotous living. You think he find the whores them? And the crack and the fentanyl and the marijuana and the wine and the vodka. And he was just living it up, riotous living. He wasted his substance on riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a famine in the land. And he began to be in want. Because what happened now? When the money run out, and the friends them run out, and now the famine comes. Does bad things happen? Do we have downturn? When we have downturn, do people jump off buildings? Because they're not base jumping? All right? Why? Because what happened when the money run out, people run out. Recently, Google made the money run out on some people because Google started using AI and cut some of the people out, the online people out of the money. And people who are living that fun party and they'll use up all the money. Oh, I'm not going to know what I'm saying. I'm never going to the explanation and tell you what happened. So what happened in the beginning of the year, 2024, probably into 2023, 2024, Google had changed some of his, how he pays bloggers. Let's use bloggers as an example. So Google include when you do Google search, not Bing and all these other search engines, but Google. And when you use YouTube, which is Google own YouTube. So Google had changed is the way it pay bloggers. And it started using AI and started creating its own system, which, many people have been suing Google because they're saying they're stealing their intellectual property. So lawsuits are still working out, but they're using artificial intelligence. And what this have done, it created a big drop in online content providers or content, people who build content online, like write books or articles or stuff online. So they find that their income that was coming from advertisement revenue dropped precipitously. It took people who were making in the millions down to hundreds of thousands, down to even less. People who were bloggers that were full-time blogging, making a decent income, had to basically go work full-time jobs, go get regular jobs. So this is how serious it is. A massive hit that going on right now in the internet community. And there's lawsuits, and I'm sure you hear lawsuits from entertainers because instead of paying an entertainer royalty, they just use AI to create a song. But they said they train the AI models on the singers and then use the AI, the artificial intelligent computers, to create songs and create articles and basically killing the original content providers and stuff like that. Anyhow, so there's been lawsuits. Artists are trained, people who paint art, they're creating art by just training the AI models to create the art. And you've used the art. I use ChatGPT. Well, I don't have it up, but the picture you always see here is ChatGPT created it. So now I can create an image, but they train the AI model on real artists and then take them. So they're suing them. All that is being worked out in courts. So what it is now, there were people that were making phenomenal money, but when they were making the money, when the money was good, what they did, they were going party, fun. And those people who were making hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, they find that their income just dried up. Like, when I say dry up, it's amazing what's going on. It's a big craziness going on in that world. So I'm familiar with some of what's going on. I've just told. And I've been watching what's going on. So, what it is that say people were like traveling the globe. They were digital nomads. They were, flying from major capital to major capitals all over the world, living from first class to the best restaurants, eating the best, frog legs or whatever you can go get in Paris. So now the money is dried up, but what did they do with that money when they were winning that lottery money all these times? So that's become financial discipline, because we know, like in the story of Egypt, that there might be 7 years plenty, and then what happened after 7 years could be 7 years famine. So you always have to prepare for famine, because that says it could be good times today and the bad times can come. Life is cyclical, or life oscillates. That's how I say it. Life is like a heartbeat. It goes bloop, bloop. But when it's like this, you try to take some of that money and put it aside for a rainy day. because you don't know when that rainy day came. But for the internet people, the rainy day came. And, there's lawsuits going on now because they're saying Google is basically stealing their lunch and they want their money back. Until that's settled, it teaches us a very good important lessons. With this lesson teach that there might be a famine. And if there's a famine now, then what you want is that you want to be able to prepare when it's good time. This young man didn't do that. He didn't take his father income and say, well, my father worked hard for it. I shouldn't party all the money. I probably should put some aside just in case bad times happen. Well, he didn't, and you know the story. And he went and he spent all, and rose a famine in the land, and he began to be in want. And he went and journeyed himself to a citizen, and joined himself to a citizen of that country. And he sent him into his field to feed the pigs. So obviously, this will be irritating for a Jewish person to hear, because the Jewish person is not supposed to not only not eat pigs, they're not supposed to interact with the pigs. And he would fain fill his belly with a husk that the swines did eat, and no man gave unto him. And then he said, went back home, and you know the rest of the story. So I use the story here to illustrate the point that said you have to have financial discipline. What is financial discipline? That if you're making more money than you need, don't party out the money. Put aside some of that money, right? Because what you don't know what tomorrow brings. And I've seen stories from, I've been young and now I'm old. I've seen so many stories where people were doing excellent and then things come to naught and they could not imagine it. And so you don't want to be that person. You want to be able to have that discipline to know that says, no matter how much excess money you have when your cup run it over, as the disciples told Paul, remember the poor, but also remember, put aside some for rainy day. All right? So you want to put your money into bags that are whole instead of bags that have holes. So notice in Proverbs 13, verse 22, Proverbs 13, verse 22 says, a good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children, and the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. So Pastor Whiteman is the person that made this text become riveted in my head because he repeated it so often. So I end up having this text in my head walking around, because he would say to me often and often when talking about, this concept here, that a good man leaveth inheritance to his grandchildren. So your children, while somebody that's there doing party, how much he has to leave for his grandkids? Nothing. How many people you've known that when they die, the children have to bury them? Right? And if the children bury them, they'd have to probably put their carcass out to the field for the fowls of the air to bury them. They have to bury being ingested by drowned crows or crows. That's what it is. Vultures. That's the only way they could be if it wasn't for their children. Because a good man does what? He has enough left over when he dies that is not only his children can get it, but his grandchildren. And there's a lot of people can live to this and say they testify of that. But they were in certain type of fun party. Oh, I'm having the best life. I have one life to live. I'm gonna be basically a dud for my grandkids. I'm nothing for I don't even nothing for my kids much as my grandkids. See, so that's the difference. So you want to think ahead. So notice we're thinking, projecting way out, and we're putting our money into bags that are whole so that we're not throwing away our money. And that's financial discipline. You want to have that discipline. The wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. Is that true? The wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. Is that true? Y'all thinking about it? Online? Is the wealth of the sinner laid up for the just? Right? The person that was living the righteous life and get to a point where he was longing for pig's food. And I've met people like that. It gets so bad that they look at the pigs and say, not only I want to eat the pig, but I want to eat the food that the pig has. Is the wealth that they just expend, is it for the just? Yeah. The just always end up in a good situation. Have you ever asked yourself the question, and I've asked this question before, why is that the Jews ultimately always financially do better than everybody else, long term? And people always try to hate them and try to beat them up. Why do Jews do better? Don't they pay a tithe? All right, but what kind of lifestyle they live in? They live in a lifestyle that they're going to make sure that you buy and you spend, and you're going to spend. So people, you pay tithe. Tithe is nothing if you understand that says when you if you follow the Adventist message, you're not supposed to be spending that money on certain things. The message make you live a cheaper life anyhow. You get rid of all the jing bang and cling cling cling.
The message saves you money.
All right. How much money this year you spend on jewelry, on gold and metal? You know, metal for your body. How much money you spend on metal this year? On your body, for your body.
For as long as I've been in the church,
So all these years you haven't bought no jing bang,
no.
cling cling.
Even before,
Oh, even before. So you weren't spending on money there.
I couldn't afford it.
You couldn't afford. All right. So
But you don't drink.
you don't drink.
You don't smoke.
You don't smoke no dope or no tobacco. I don't eat no fast food.
Take my lunch to work.
You take your lunch. Oh, you do that? You take your lunch to work? That's good. Praise the Lord. Sister Marty, you've been in good discipline. You only drink water. You're not drinking no wine. No vodka, no stuff.
No Arizona iced tea.
No, definitely don't drink that thing. It's so nice tea. Right. So you can see the wealth, because by doing this, you're changing your budget and you're putting yourself in a different position, right? So that you don't spend out the money or any money on that all heap of foolishness. And then guess what happens? It's good. You know, you do life differently. Matthew chapter. So the wealth, you know, this is a study in itself, so I can't go into that right now. But empirically, I can show financially that if you follow these principles long term, I don't care if you came into the church poor, you follow the principles we're talking about here, give it about 5-10 years, you'll move yourself into middle class real quick. I don't care how much money you have. If you follow what we're saying here from this morning to now, and these last few weeks, and then we do health and all that, you're doing better than most people just by just accepting this principle and trying to live them. Matthew chapter 13, verse 45. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant man seeking goodly pearls. What are you seeking? Goodly pearls. Goodly pearls. 4-star, 5-star. Right? You go online, you're buying something, and it says 3-star, 1-star, 2-star. Don't buy it. Unless you know that you're buying it because it's cheap, and you know you're going to do something with it, and you just say, I don't care, it's cheap. Right? But you're looking for something, and you're not looking for the most expensive, because what people many find out is the most expensive is not what it is, it's the most useful. There's totally different things. You can have something that's very expensive and it's useful. You can have something that's very expensive and not very useful, not for my use. So notice here, looking for a goodly pearl. So you go through life with this idea, because you want to make sure whatever money you spend it well. Right? There's many people I can read about when they come on to finance, but I think that says I need to read about the top people in finance that is being consistent. There's somebody that can be a hedge fund manager and he can make money for 5-10 years, or he had a Midas touch for 3 years. And you could say, I need to read this book now, when I once had been. No, you want to read the person that's been consistent. You want to read people like Warren Buffett. What does Warren Buffett think about stuff? Follow someone like that, because they've been consistent for years. That's why I always say, I watch people like Jamie Dimon. I want to hear what he has to say. Why? Because the long-term consistency. These young whippersnappers. I could follow some of the young whippersnappers just to find out how to trend and to burn out and crash out and be like A-list comet. I guess it's not crash out, they just keep spinning. Verse 46 says, who, when he had found one of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. So you want to go through life with this type of idea. What is of good value? How can I get my money worth? Nothing that LJ had talked about is that one must prepare for negatives and emergency of an emergency fund, right? So emergency fund, most people are talking about somewhere that minimum you should have probably floating around is you can grab 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Yeah, that's what we're really talking about. I don't know if inflation changed this, but that means if your washer kick the bucket, or your dryer kick the bucket, your fridge kick the bucket, you have enough money in the bank that you can buy that without putting it on a credit card. So that's what we're talking about. There's some emergency money that's floating out there. It's not invested. You don't have to go liquidate any assets and to grab that money. It's just money sitting there that is not tied up in any way, shape, or form. So minimum, you should have that on you. No, not on you, I'd say. You don't need to have that. It could be in a bank, or it could be in a vault in your house, if you have a vault in your house. So notice here, Matthew chapter 7, verse 24. Matthew chapter 7, verse 24. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man which built his house upon a rock. Right? Why would you build your house upon a rock? And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the wind blew and beat upon that house. And it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. So in this life, it's not your bad luck. You don't have bad luck. We don't believe in luck. There's time and chance happening to them all. That's the only probably text I can find that really deal with luck. But when you talk about the concept of luck, at least, when you talk in this life, what you're dealing with is that bad things do happen. And sooner or later, it's going to happen to all of us. Does that make sense? So you just have to just go at life, understand that, say, you know, these things happen. You might dash your foot against a stone. That's why we carry car insurance, health insurance, because you don't know. You might be the perfect driver until one day you fall asleep. That's just life. You might be the perfect driver until somebody fall asleep and take you out. You know, that's the life we live. You know, these things happen. But while you do, you go through life understanding that storms come, and literal storm come. That's why I don't believe in building in flood zone, primarily because of this text. Because I believe that the rains will descend. If you live in a, if I lived in the Midwest, in Tornado Alley, I'd just have a bunker. The only way a tornado could catch me and kill me is if I was sleeping when the alarms were going off and I didn't get to go in my bunker. So what does a bunker cost? $5,000 probably? I don't know. It's worth it. It's just insurance. That's all. Some weekend is going and pull the hatch down until the storm leave over you. You don't need to die for something like that because you know that it's a known. It's not a known unknown. So notice here, and the rain descended and the floods came and blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. It was built for the storm. We will have storm. Since I've been in church, there's a amount of false doctrine and hype and false alarm, marketed business. They come and go. You just have to prepare your mind for that type of stuff. That's intellectual, it's spiritual. But it's the same thing to me. Every time, how many times since in the last 25 years we'd have an economic downturn? How many times? Probably 3, 4. There's some micro ones. So you just know there's going to be economic trouble. This is just the environment we live in. From America started to now, it's a boom and bust culture. The people behave boom and bust too. One moment they're excited over something, and next moment they're not excited. And, you know, that's just the economics, the social, the culture is just expressed this way. So you just prepare. I said, that's what it is. It's going to be a wild ride. The economy of America is like a guy on a horse. One of these horses that jump in, or on the cow or the bull. And it's just a wild ride until they throw him off. And sometimes they throw him off, he land on his head. The electrical bull too. Right, and just don't be drunk on an electrical bull because it might throw you off right in your head, right? So you just understand that, say, listen, it's exciting. You know, being here and being in the part of that excitement when the bulls start going, you'll be like, yeehaw, right? That's where we're at. And you just ride the bull. And then when it throws you off, just say, prepare for landing because you're going to throw you off. And that's where you need some rainy day funds because this bull will buck you off. And hopefully the bull don't come. Oh, you know these guys that come around and try to distract the bull so that the bull don't gore you, right? Because there's always a bull market. As I say, there's a what is it? Bull and bear market. So the bull market, the bull will throw up in the air, and the bear will whack you down. Am I right? We have some bear around here. I won't test it out to see if they're right. So notice here, and everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a foolish man which builds his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the wind blew and beat upon the house, and it fell, and great was the fall thereof. So when we look at this life, trouble will come. You just have to prepare for the trouble. And so your discipline is that says, now you have to put aside money for contingents for disaster. For me, I have a generator. Why? Because it seemed like the trees like to take down power lines in my area. Right? The trees seem to always be attacking the power lines. But when do they attack the power lines? When the winds are blowing. Right, so that's now... Okay, we have power outage again. What's new? Matthew chapter 25, verse 1 onwards says, Then the kingdom of heaven is likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. Why? Because they're foolish. So, how much oil you have in your lamp, in your bank account? how much oil you have in the church, because what happened, there is an apparent delay. Do you feel like there's an apparent delay? Because people say, oh, Jesus is about to come, and I'm like, yeah, he's about to come, but when? And so, since you've been in the church, have you been hearing that Jesus is about to come? Have you met people that have put their life on hold waiting for Jesus to come? And they put their life on hold 25, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And what happened? Some of them have been buried and in the grave now, and Jesus didn't come. Right? There's an apparent delay. So when you don't prepare for the delay, Jesus is telling you that when he talk about second coming of the bridegroom cometh, he's telling you right here that, you know, in the end it's going to be like an apparent delay. For me, it's an apparent delay, because the way I study prophecy, I never saw, you don't hear me here preaching, oh, Jesus is about to come, the mark of the beast is about to happen. I don't believe so. Because I need to see certain major signs fulfilled. I remember one time I was saying to somebody with us, and the person challenged me and said, how do you know? How you? And I'm like, people have gotten mad with me saying that. And I said, because this prophecy hasn't fulfilled. Well, it didn't have to go like that. I'm like, are you crazy? The Bible tells us that nothing, not one jot or tittle shall be broken in the Bible. How are you talking about? I don't know. If the Bible said this has to happen before Christ come and this didn't happen, how are you going to tell me Christ is about to come? We're in the end times, but Christ is not coming Monday. Are you crazy? Where in the Bible said that Christ is coming Monday? Christ is definitely not coming this Monday. But people believe this, and people put their life on hold and stop life because they believe Christ is occupy until I come. And there's certain signs that are given. Like I remember probably over 10 years ago, I think the video is online. I said, listen, one of the things that I believe that will happen before Christ come, America will be back in the Middle East. I remember America was leaving the Middle East. I said, that's not going to happen. I said, they're going to go back, because they're going to have to go back with Israel, because Israel is a major component of the end time. And Israel has to get in trouble for America to go over there and rescue it. And I say, in order for that to happen, all the world need to be there. China need to be there. India need to be there. Turkey need to be there. Iran need to be there, Iraq need to be there, Russia need to be there, England need to be there. And I said that over 10 years ago. And people are like, what are you talking about? Well, what's happening now? Because I say, in order for Christ to come, you read Daniel 11, the whole world has to be convened over there. And America is included. And at that point, when I said to people, like, what are you talking about? America is leaving the Middle East. I said, yeah, they're going to leave, but they're going back. They can't leave that place. That place is where the world comes to an end. It started there. Genesis chapter 3, Genesis chapter 1, Genesis chapter 2, and it will end there. Christ died there. A prophet must die in Jerusalem. That's what Christ says. So the end of the world. Matthew chapter 25, verse, where we are now. So the bridegroom tarry. So notice here verse 4 says, and the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps, while the bridegroom tarried. They all slumbered and slept. They all what? Is the church asleep? Even the wise virgins? They're slumbering. So what has been explained is that says the foolish, they're fast asleep. Knocked out watching Netflix, knocked out watching MTV. Is MTV still around? Oh, in a different way? Oh, they do videos now. You know, so they're knocked out watching that. And then the ones that are not foolish, they're slumbering. Slumbering mean, you know, they're kind of half awake and half sleeping, you know. They're probably watching just a little bit of MTV. So notice here, and at midnight, the cry was made. Behold, the bridegroom cometh. At midnight, what is midnight? That means it's dark. That means you have people, men walking around as women and women walking around as men. That means they're doing Sodom and Gomorrah. They get into groups and gang raping prisoners in Palestine. This is what's happening, dark midnight. So we expect worse to happen. That's another thing I've said to people that say, do you understand that say, by the time Christ is coming, the church is supposed to look like a cesspool? Do you get that? They're supposed to be partying in the church because that's what enjoy pretty. They enjoy pretty there. They'll be drumming and partying and stuff like that. You see some church and you're thinking it's a club. Coors Light, hot, right? So notice here, then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said unto the wise, give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answer and say, not so, lest there be not enough for us and you. But go ye rather to the prosperity gospel preachers. But go ye rather to the fake people that's always talking about the mark of the beast, the zombies. But go ye rather to them that sell and buy for yourself, because you only go and buy with money, because what we have, we have the Spirit. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. So somebody said, what has to do with finance? What it has to do with finance is that you have to have something called extra. Amen. Can you get that? You can't just have your oil there because trouble is going to come. There might be delay. Things might not work the way it's supposed to work. As I say, when you're building a house, you always have to have contingency plan. 10%, 20% excess. So that means what the financial discipline here? That when you're doing your budget, you have to have free money aside. You can't budget everything you make. The government get their own, the poor people get their own, the tithe goes to the church, all the bills get paid, the credit card get paid, all this get paid, and you still have to have probably 10% of your income not covered. Minimum, even you just start out, 20% income not used. Someone say you're saving it, yeah, just put it aside. It's just not counted for. Because when an emergency happens or a delay happens or something happen, you have to be able to understand you will lose money in this life. You have to put aside money for losses. If you go into a store, they account for theft. Because you know things are going to get stolen by people come to the store, by workers. So you always do life understanding that there's losses. It's financial discipline. Now, what am I doing here for telling you? What I'm really telling you that's a financial discipline is that to me, you always account for stuff and even account for stuff that you don't know. It gives you discipline because you can't burn all the money you earn. Discipline to me is never to burn all the money you earn. You budget for everything and then you say, I'm gonna remove one paycheck probably every quarter and I just don't budget for that paycheck. One paycheck every 6 months. Start off minimum with me to one paycheck every year. You just don't budget for it. And what you're gonna find, you're gonna probably burn that paycheck. Just every, because what we get paid. Most salary income is 26 paycheck. So I would say to you, minimum, you budget for 25 paycheck. More ideally, 24 paychecks. Excellent would be your budget for 22 paychecks. That means once a quarter, you don't budget for a paycheck. That's how you do that. That's what that means in my real life. So if I go back to my budget again, and I show you the budget, and I say, right, so if you made $74,000 and you write a budget for the year, so I'm writing my 2025 budget, I would only calculate for probably 68,000. That means if I have 24 paychecks, I'm only budgeting for 24 of the 26 paychecks. That means every 6 months, one whole paycheck is not budgeted for. That means that 2 weeks of paycheck is not budgeted for. It's not in your budget. Or it stays in your bank. You save that money. That money is not for investments. That money is not for anything. It just sits there. Just in case, money. Then a year end, and if that money is still there, tell me, because I doubt it. Because you will budget, and I'm telling you, things gonna come up that you was not in your budget, because that's what it is. A budget is what you can forecast. Reality is not that. So that means when you finish the year, you're budgeting for 25 paychecks, 24 paycheck, 22 paychecks. That means once a quarter there's a paycheck you didn't even forecast for. That's financial discipline. In other words, financial discipline, and I probably should say it more clearly in a second, not clearly when I started, financial discipline to me in my mind is that you're number one in the morning I talk about you have to earn money. But after you earn the money, you can't plan to use all the money, even when it comes on to investments. You just have to have money put aside because life happens.
No, I was just going to say that planning and prep work is very important if you're going to stick to a budget. And discipline is key. So you have to plan, you have to prepare. Discipline is key. And you have to budget your money, but also budget your time. Because you have to perform well and secure your income. Do well at your job. So going out to parties and certain entertainments should not even be in your mind when you're trying to achieve a goal. You know, it's like when you wanted to, let's say, for example, go for a degree. There's a lot of planning, a lot of discipline that goes to that. So financing is not different. You have to purpose in your heart. This is what I want to do. This is your goal. Because money is so hard to make, but so easy to spend.
That's right. That's why.
So you have to be careful, and I mean, there's so much more that goes with this, because there's also this concept of learning how to shop in ways that you can save money, and things you can do that you think you're saving money, but you're not. So you really have to counsel with others and talk to other people who's been through it and to help you.
Yeah, because that's what we're doing here. It's like I'm sharing with you some of my process. And if you listen to me here, I spend all the time on because I say I record everything. So whatever money I'm spending, whatever, I record it all. Because I want to see how the money's going, because that's the only way I can get a concept probably of what I need to cut out. And same thing here. I just do the same thing for whatever I do. So you want to avoid scams and predators and any get-rich-quick schemes or scams. In Proverbs 22, verse 16, it says that he that oppresseth the poor to increase his riches, and he that giveth to the rich shall surely come to want. So you want to understand that there's people out there that their intention is to oppress the poor to get rich. You want to be able to keep your antennas up and look for this. You don't believe that anybody's giving you anything for free. As this guy used to tell me years back, he said, Lloyd, there's nobody selling $1 for 98 cents. Nobody selling $1 for 90. If somebody tell you they're selling $1 for 50 cents, you got to understand that has to be crazy for you to believe that's so. Because there has to be a reason. Unless it's a good, clear reason. As I say, if I go to the store and they're selling a product for $5 and it used to be sold for $50, I have to believe that's probably because they need to get rid of the inventory and it's the end of the sale. If it's the beginning of the season and they're selling it for $5, there's something wrong with the product. Or they have to give me a very good explanation. But somebody will be, oh, I'm getting a deal. No, you're not getting a deal. Unless it's the end of the season, they have to get rid of inventory. There's just no reason for them to do that. There's something wrong. So, but people always, they like a scam because they think they're getting over. And the only thing, I remember this friend of mine, he told me was at the intersection coming into the not the Holland Tunnel. What's the other tunnel in New York? The Lincoln Tunnel. And he said there was a guy there selling a VCR for cheap. And he says he's about to go through the tunnel. And the guy said, listen, I'll sell you this for like, say, $20 or whatever it was. Whatever a VCR was going, it was very cheap. And it looks good. It's in a box. And he just grabbed it and gave the guy the money. He gave the guy the money. And he says he went home and he got a knife. He opened up the box with the VCR and it was a pile of rocks. And he said his family started laughing. He just walked out the house and left. He just went in his car and just left. He couldn't even stay because they laughed him to scorn. But the guy handed him a pile of rocks in a VCR box and took his money. And that was it. Because it's a scam. How are you going to say you're a brand new VCR for that type of price? Right? So this is what people do. You have to be aware of this. And don't lose your money. Proverbs 15 verse 27. Proverbs 15 verse 27. He that is greedy of gain troubleth his own house. I've met people like this. They're greedy for a scam and they trouble their house. But he that hateth gifts shall live. The way to make money is to work for the money. Unless it's a proper investment, I don't know what to tell you. Easy come, easy go. This life don't work like that. Colossians chapter 3 verse 5 and 6. Say, mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection. Remember I talk about if you have any inordinate affection, you have to kill it. Because any inordinate affection will make you go broke. Any unusual affection for whatever, because that means it make you fanatical, it make you singular focus, and just like crack or cocaine, you lose your money. Evil concupiscence and covetousness. If you're covetous, you will never be able to control your budget, which is idolatry. For which things sake the wrath of God cometh upon the children of disobedience. In Luke 12 verse 15, they say, he said unto them, take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possess. This is financial control. If you understand that says you need to have some good things in your life, but have a whole bunch of stuff. You know, I remember, as I said to you before, my friend was telling me that, said, when you go to a poor country, people are poor in resources. When you come to America, you have a poor people that are filled with junk in the yard and outside the yard. They're hoarders. And it's just a bunch of junk. Nothing hardly is of use. It's just a bunch of junk. And so for me, I believe that it's better to have something that is good quality than to have a whole lot of junk. But people believe that having a whole bunch of junk is good for them. But you tell it's something wrong with the mind. So we want to have things that are of good quality, not an abundance of stuff that you can't even use. I'm thinking if you have a property, this place, and you have a yacht here and yacht there and whatever, you really can enjoy that stuff. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5 says, let your conversation be without covetousness and be content with such things that as you have. For he hath said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. So you have to be content. If you always grasp and always need more and more, then you're not going to be able to survive. You know, there's a certain point where I only need certain much clothing, because what happened? I only can wear so much clothing. Hebrews chapter 4, verse 11. Hebrews chapter 4, verse 11. Notice this very important principle here. So we labor to rest. We take days off. We enjoy a Sabbath. We enjoy a weekend, and we enjoy a vacation. Any of those things are not things that you're making money. And there's people that don't enjoy these things because they constantly have to go to make money. And they have an imbalanced lifestyle. So you labor to rest. And I always say you don't labor to labor. Now, where do I get that concept from? Hebrews chapter 11, Hebrews chapter 4, verse 11. Let us labor, therefore, to enter into rest. Why do you labor? You labor to rest. You don't labor to labor. I know people that labor to labor. Does that make sense? Everything they do tend to more labor. Everything you're supposed to do is to be labor to get rest. I'm not trying to get myself into a situation where I'm working until, as I say, my buttocks fall off. That's the best way to say it, right? Did I say it properly? I shouldn't be saying that. So you labor to what? To rest. So you can have you have days off. Is that a good thing? If you can't enjoy your days off, what's the point of all that money? You can't enjoy a Sabbath. There's people who can't enjoy a Sabbath. They have to be working and worried about bills and worried about this and worried about that. Listen, that means your life is upside down and topsy-turvy. You need to cut back. You need to be able to enjoy your weekends. And you need to be able to enjoy a vacation. Let us labor, therefore, to enter into rest. Because no, 6 days shalt thou labor and do all your work, but the 7 days is the Sabbath of the Lord. You labor to rest. You have to have rest. Lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief. So you labor to rest. Is that certain? Yes. Proverbs chapter 30, verse 24 and 25, almost there now. And it says here, we observe seasons of life, spring, summer, fall, and winter. When do you start your life? In the spring. When do you end your life? Unless you have an accident or a tragedy. In the winter. Is that so? When do you know winter is setting in? When you start to see grays. Because you know fall is here. And the hair start falling, and the grays start coming in, and you start feeling chills, and you start probably want to stay home a little bit more, and you probably want to start to reminisce on the spring and the summer because the fall is taking its toll. That's when you know fall is setting. Proverbs 30, verse 24. Say, I'll be myself. Say, there be 4 things which are little upon the earth, but they are exceedingly wise. The ant are a people not strong, yet they prepare their meat in the what? In the summer. Why will you prepare the meat in the summer? There's plenty of food. But what's coming? So in the springtime, are you thinking about retirement? Look at me. You're thinking about retirement in the summertime? You're thinking about retirement right now, brother? Are you thinking about retirement? No. Right, because you're in summer. Yeah, but when you start getting up to our dizzying height, and you start to see things falling off of you. Are you still in spring? Praise the Lord. I wouldn't say that though, but spring is when you're like in your single digits and teens. Is still in spring, you think? Oh, praise the Lord. Good for him. Suffer the little children to come onto the church. So when you're in the fall, then you start to think about, that's a winter is coming. And when winter comes, no man works. Because you can't do the work you used to do when you're in your spring or you're in the summer and even your fall. So you have to prepare. So you have to live life in the season. There's people that they hit in their 50s and 60s and they still haven't figured out that says winter is coming. And there's a lot of people that has happened to. And now you see them now, they in the fall, the winter, and they now try to figure out what to do. Because they realize they can't make it by on Social Security or stuff like that. And they've realized that the fall that they were experiencing in fall time, it falling even more in winter. Now the leaves are off the tree, everything look brown and look all dead and dry up. And they realize, uh-oh, it's winter and I didn't plan for winter. You have to prepare for winter. I told you before, last week I was at Lowe's and I was at Home Depot and I had to pass a truck delivering pellets. And I'm thinking it's August 15th, why are they delivering pellets? Then I went over to Lowe's and the pellets were already delivered. And I'm thinking, why are they trolling me? Eh? And snow blowers, they put out the snow blowers. And I'm thinking, it's August. They need to get a hold of themselves. Winter is so far away. You know how far away winter is? You know how far away winter is? Winter is months and months away. And they tell me about that. Says, when does summer end? September. When does fall end? December. And they're already talking about snow blowers and pellets. Right? Prices of lawnmower going down. I'm seeing certain things they're putting on sale already, try to get rid of the inventory because summer is done, right? Summer is done. So I'm thinking if you're in Maine, they probably started winter. So notice here, you do life like that. You can't prepare. Why do somebody go to school? Because the parents prepare you for spring. But when you get to your springtime and you're like a spring chicken, ready for life, ready for relationship, ready to work, ready to make money, the springtime you're taken care of. Now the summertime, because they say summer is a time for love. That's what Solomon says. Summer is a time for love. Everybody experience love in their summertime? Y'all didn't get married? Listen, when it was summertime, it was time for love. Right? And you got married and things was exciting. You're ready for the beach days and you have the beach body and everything was great. Look up and pay attention. That's summertime. Right? So you live life with that thing. To me, that's discipline. The discipline is to understand and seize your win. And I'm telling you, I know a lot of people, they in fall and it seems like they're not aware that they're in fall. Even though everything is falling off them. Everything is falling. Everything is fall. And now winter has set in and I move on. Because I could go on for an hour with that one. In their mind, they're in summer, they're fooling themselves. Because I can look at them and thinking, it's winter. It's gone too far. All right? As I remember somebody, they went to Costco and buy a casket and keep it in the garage. They just pull it up in the top of the garage. Yeah, literally. I know somebody did that. I knew of somebody that did that. They buy the casket already, so when they die, they already get a good discount on the casket. And the family could just bury them. Now, what a tragedy if one day they come home and, not one day they come home, they die, but then they die in the house, burned down, and they didn't even get to it. They just get buried. They just have to scrape up some ashes and say, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. So, but that person buy the casket already. They buy the casket already. Unbelievable. So they're preparing for not only winter, they're preparing for fall and winter to fall on the face of the earth. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6, 7, and 8. So that's what we have happening. So you have to have that discipline, like that person, to realize you're going to die one day, so might as well get a discount on the casket. Is that financial discipline? Oh, no, okay. Proverbs 6, verse 6, 7, and 8. No, that's not financial discipline. Y'all sure about that? Just get a discount. Save your family time picking out the color, because you can pick out the color you want. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6, 7, 8 says, so we want to prepare for winter and want to save and invest for the winter, because the winter will come. Go to the ant. This is earlier now in Proverbs. Go to the ant, thou sluggard, and consider her way, and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler. So you don't need the government to do this for you. You can't do this for yourself. Provided her meat in the summer and gathered her food in harvest. Because what happened in the harvest? Normally in harvest it's about October, November, September, October, November, they start harvesting. While they're harvesting, the humans are harvesting, what the ants are doing? They're harvesting too. Because they understand. The squirrels are busy. Because the squirrels understand that it's time to pick up acorns, right? And it's time to go and make a mess at your yard. Digging up stuff and planting stuff. The chipmunk understand it also, because they understand they need to get busy because winter is coming, they need to stock up enough food and need to prepare to be eaten by snakes and stuff. So you want to follow what the ant is doing, and you want to understand that there's a certain discipline you have to have. Life is not just you make the money, you burn the money. You make some money, but you have to put aside money for a rainy day. You make some money, you have to put aside some money to make more money, and so forth and so on. That's financial discipline. Now somebody said, Lord, why is all this discipline? Because it takes discipline to do life in a very cognitive way, to do life in an intellectual way, to understand this is a reality of life. You just have to do it this way. You do it this way, you can do life in a more multifaceted way. You understand you have to take some money into health. Well, some people believe that the money is just for one thing and for one thing only. No. Your money, whatever dollar you make, you have to see a dollar that some of it goes to tax, some of it goes to religion, some of it goes to your housing, some of it goes to clothing, to food, to shelter, to investments, to the poor, to the whatever. You just break up that money. And what you start is have the discipline to understand. You start put your money in all these different places. It will benefit you. You'll be blessed. And you get discipline, because it takes discipline to do all this. It takes discipline to budget. It takes discipline to be able to understand how to track your finances. As I say, online, if you need me to give you the link for the Excel spreadsheet that I use, but I use Excel spreadsheet for years, and I just use it to track everything. I try not to spend any money on anything I don't know to spend. And you have to face it. You have to just face your reality. This is your reality. Somebody say, what if I'm broke? Yeah, you just need to know how broke you are. That's all. When you understand how broke you are, if you're broke, that's financial power. Because you know where the money is going. But you just spend it and say, well, I'm so up the creek without a paddle, it doesn't matter. Yes, it does. You just need to track it. Because what happens if you make an incremental move and you save yourself some money here, save some money there, what you do, you see yourself progressing. Because remember, my principle here is you want to progress and stop losses and move on to success. Proverbs 21, verse 20. So we close with this very important text. Proverbs 21, verse 20, and we close here. There is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man spendeth it up. That's basically what it is. That would be my summary for what I'm talking about. I wish I should have pulled the ESV, English Standard Version, on this text. But anyhow, what it is that the concept here, there is treasury, because I have it in my head in other versions. There's treasury to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise. But a foolish man spendeth it up. Because everything you get in, you can't burn all of it. That's my basic concept here. And probably I should have used this to start the study. Hindsight is always 20/20. But I wanted to close it this way, because that's where I was going. Very important. Somebody have it in ESV? Any version. King James, New King James. I just want to hear it in different ways rendered. Yeah, get the mic. Just read it for me. I read it in a few different versions. Very important, because I think they summarize what I'm trying to communicate.
Precious treasure and oil are in a wise man's dwelling, but a foolish man devours it.
All right, so for desire, so you just eat up everything.
Yeah.
Okay, give me another version.
NIV, the wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down.
All right, give me another version. That's interesting.
NASB, there is precious treasure and oil in the home of the wise, but a foolish person swallows it up.
Swallows it up. So you get the concept. Not everything you take in, you need to burn. You have to put aside something. A foolish person would just spend everything, burn everything. They'd be like the prodigal son. And then when famine comes, there's nothing left. A wise person don't do that. A wise person says, if I make $1, I can't eat $1. I can't use $1. I have to be able to live You're not living within your means. You need to live below your means. I understand the saying. I agree with it. Somebody could say, Lord, are you disagree with the statement? I don't disagree with the statement. You live within your means. But I don't believe you should live within your means. What I'm teaching here is Proverbs 21, verse 20. You live below your means. That means if I make $100, I need to live on $80. I need to live on $90. As I say, you don't budget for your whole income. You budget below your income. Why you want to budget below your income? Because life happens. I'm telling you, life happens. And for me, every year, something always happens that I'm not planning for. And sometimes it's big, and sometimes it's small. If it's small, then praise the Lord. I have extra money. If it's big, I have money. Sometimes it could be just something charitable. Something happened to somebody that's tragic. You have to pour some money. And you didn't plan for it because that's life. And obviously, if you have no treasure, no oil in your dwelling, and you have nothing to desire, treasures to be desired in your dwelling, you have nothing to give because you burn all the money. So that means you live in, if you make 100, whatever. I would even prefer somebody to say, well, what happened, Lord, if I have some credit cards, I need to pay off the credit card. Don't pay off all your credit cards all at once. If you're going to take you 2 years to pay your credit card, pay it off probably in 3 years. Keep some cash on you. That's literally because I'm not debt aversion. Because what happened, you learn some things today, doesn't mean you're going to get to the place you need to get to as fast as you need to get to. I've learned, just be diligent and just go. As long as you're paying down debt, to me, that's the aim of the game. And you try as much as you can, because some of you are forced to have to take on debt. But you're just paying down. That means that when you look at yourself, and don't think about life like a month to month. Sometimes think about it in a quarter, 6 months. 6 months from now, did you have less debt? Because sometimes you're paying your debt and something happened, and it's an emergency, you have to do something, and life happens. There's nothing you can do about it. But what you can do about your situation is that you want to be able to have some treasure, some excess laid up store. And as you do this, what happens, incrementally you see 3 months from now, 6 months from now, you're getting better. For me, I'm not advocate that say you must per se be debt free. What I'm advocating is you must be moving forward. Because getting debt free sometimes can be a hard slug. But what happens, as long as you're moving forward, and sometimes I would tell somebody, say, probably you need to take on some debt and go back to school. Literally. Because that's not debt in the classic sense. Debt in the classic sense is that there's nothing to back it. Does that make sense? Debt is backed by, you see, if you can make money, it's not the same as if you're just taking a debt that you don't know how to, you're just taking a personal debt. You're going to go into debt to go to gamble. That's not a debt, that's just foolish. So again, if you're going back to school, probably you're going to make more money at the end, and 3 years later, 2 years later, you're going to make more money. I said that debt is good debt if you diligently pass your exams and do what you have to do. If you're going to get a new trade, a new career, that's a good thing to do. So that's how you want to do it. So again, when you're budgeting, please budget for 90% of your income. Don't budget for 100%. And make sure everything fit in that income. And if you have to downgrade to move forward, sometimes you don't have to do nothing. Sometimes you have to just budget first, plan first, and then after you plan, then you make your move. But if you don't have a plan, you make a move, that's just knee-jerk. You should never listen to me here and do something without a budget. If you don't put it on paper, I didn't say nothing to you. Never tell nobody that you listened to me and made a foolish decision. You have to first put it on paper. And if you put it on paper, you can't still make it a detail. Give me a call, text me. Talk to me, email me, reach out to me some way. I'll work it out with you. I've been doing this thing for whatever. And as I say, you can go online and you can read a lot of stuff about financial planning. These 2 last presentations I did, you'll find nothing that is as complete as what I'm talking about. Because I look, and I've been doing this for a while, there's nothing out there that talks about the level that we talk about for the last 2 hours. You follow these principles, it might not be in a very bulleted form, but if you just listen to me talk, you can make head or tail of what I'm saying. You want to be able to, number one, earn money. Figure out to increase your earnings. You want to budget, and you want to be able to budget below your income, and you want to figure out a way to make more money. If you do this, because you always have to grow financially, you'll be all right. Trust me, you'll be all right. You won't be there tomorrow because nothing we do is tomorrow, but you start be on your way. May God bless you. It's good to have you here on Sabbath with us. It's always good to talk. Next week, if I must memory serve me right, we'll be talking about tithe and offering. That's a subject in itself. May God bless you. Thanks for being with me.
You'll have to close the poll. Please take your hymnals in hand. For a closing hymn, we'll go to hymn number 639. Hymn number 639. hymn number 639. A diligent and grateful heart prompts me to sing thy praise, for love and mercies from the start have blessed me all my days. I thank thee for the means to serve with talents and with tithes, for sharing brings the utmost joy when lifting others. My thanks I give for stewardship to minister through deeds, to serve and share with patient care thy people in their needs. Oh Lord, I dedicate my all in this response to thee. Help me to magnify this call in deep humility.
Thank you for joining us here at Covenant Advent Church Bible Study Hour. At this time, as we close service here on the Sabbath, I would like to invite you to pray with us. Dear Heavenly Father, we're so grateful and thankful, dear Lord, for you give us hope and encouragement in our lives. We're grateful, dear Heavenly Father, for you have put means and resources in our hands so we can manage and we can multiply. We're grateful and thankful, dear Heavenly Father, for encouraging us that no matter what situation we're in financially, we can improve. It takes a lot of planning, a lot of diligence for us to be prudent. And we have to purpose in our hearts and be determined that we're going to succeed. We're grateful, dear Heavenly Father, for giving us the strength and the mindset to move forward in a way where we can be profitable. We're grateful, dear Heavenly Father, for not only we can be profitable in ministry, but also in our finances. And we know, dear Heavenly Father, finances are very important. Mismanagement of funds can lead to the downfall of business or even a home and even a church if they're not careful. We're grateful and thankful, dear Lord, that you have given us thy Holy Spirit to guide us into the decisions we need to make in order for us to be stable financially. We're grateful, dear Lord, for us going over this topic. It's a very important topic. And we're thankful, dear Heavenly Father, for everything is in place for us to succeed. We just have to make a decision and move forward with a diligent plan to budget and handle our resources in a way that is pleasing to thy sight. Help us, dear Heavenly Father, as we leave behind worldly habits that eat up at our resources, and help us, dear Lord, to make right decision and good judgment. I thank you, dear Lord, for the examples that you have given us in your word. For example, Joseph, who handled his business with diligence, and everything was laid upon him. And he led a way in which even the whole world benefited from his management. We're grateful, dear Heavenly Father, for the wonderful teachings, and we're grateful, dear Lord, for the words we've heard today. And I ask, dear Heavenly Father, that all those who are watching may be blessed by this presentation and all the information that we've heard. I thank you so much. We ask for traveling mercies for us as we go home. And And we pray, dear Lord, that you may bring us back next week to worship you in this place. In Christ I pray. Amen. Thank you again for joining us here at Covenant Adventist Church, preparing you for life and eternity. Join us next week as we continue to study the Sabbath School lesson, Controversies in Jerusalem, lesson number 9. And also join us for a divine service as we take a look at tithes and offerings. Stay safe. God bless you. And we'll see you next week.